Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, assembled devotees, all glories, Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Mama Shivaraya Krishna. Can you hear this in the kitchen?
I'm not sure if it's not working properly.
In the kitchen, if they can hear in the transmitter. Okay. So this morning, reading from the srimadbhagavatam, 32nd chapter. It's verses 12 through 15. We'll recite the Sanskrit for the first one, 12. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskricham Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jam Adirayat Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Adyastira charanam yo Vedagarbha saharshibihi Yogeshwarai Kumaradhyai Siddhar Yoga Pavartakai Adyastira charanam yo Vedagarbha saharshibihi Yogeshwarai Kumaradhyai Siddhar Yoga Pavartakai Ajastira Charanam Yo Vedagarbha saharshibihi Yogeshwarai Kumaradhyai Siddhar Yoga Pavartakai. Anyone like to chant? Adyastira Charananyo Vedagarbha saharshibihi Yogeshwarai Kumaradhyai Siddhar Yoga Pravartakai Adyastira Charanam Yo Vedagarbha saharshibihi Yogeshwarai Kumaradhyai Siddhar Yoga Pravartakai Adyastira Charanam Yo Vedagarbha saharshibihi Yogeshwarai Kumaradhyai Siddhar Yoga Pravartakai. Anyone else? Adyastira Charanam Yo Vedagarbha saharshibihi Yogeshwarai Kumaradhyai Siddhar Yoga Pravartakai. Okay, the other verses. Vedadishta Bhimanina Nishangena Pikarmana Kartritvat Sagunan Brahma Purusham Purusharshabam Sasam Sricha Punakale Kalaneshwara Murtina Jate Guna Vyatikare Yata Purvam Prajayate Aishwaram Parameshchacha Tepi Dharma Vinirmitam Nishevya Punar Ayanti Guna Vyatikare Sati. Did you get that? Okay. So I'll read the synonyms for the first verse. Adya, the Creator Lord Brahma. Stira Charanam, of the immobile and mobile manifestations. Yaha, he who, Vedagarbha, the repository of the Vedas. Saha, along with Rishibhihi,
Rishibhihi,
the sages,
sages,
Yoga Ishwarai,
Yogeshwarai,
with great mystic yogis,
great mystic yogis,
Kumara Adhyai,
Kumara Adhyai,
the Kumaras and others,
Mars and others,
Siddhyai,
Siddhyai,
with the perfected living beings.
the perfected living beings.
And then we got one more word here. Yoga Pavartakai,
Yoga Pravartakai,
the authors of the yoga system.
the authors of the yoga system.
Someone must have written it, right? So, translation to all of these verses. A lot of synonyms. Here's the translation. This is Lord Kapila Dev speaking to his mother. My dear mother, someone may worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead with special self-interest, but even demigods such as Lord Brahma, great sages such as Sanat Kumara, and great munis such as Marichi have to come back to the material world again at the time of creation. When the interaction of the three modes of material nature begins, Brahma, who is the creator of this cosmic manifestation and who is full of Vedic knowledge, and the great sages who are the authors of the spiritual path and the yoga system, come back under the influence of the time factor. They are liberated by their non-fruitive activities and they attain the first incarnation of the Purusha, but at the time of creation, they come back in exactly the same forms and positions as they had previously. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, his explanation. Lord, that Brahma becomes liberated is known to everyone, but he cannot liberate his devotees. Demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot give liberation to any living entity. As is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, only one who surrenders unto Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can be liberated from the clutches of Maya, or illusion. Brahma is called here Adya Stira Charanam. He is the original, first created living entity, and after his own birth, he creates the entire cosmic manifestation. He was fully instructed in the matter of creation by the Supreme Lord. Here he is called Vedagarbha, which means that he knows the complete purpose of the Vedas. He is always accompanied by such great personalities as Marichi, Kashyapa, and the seven sages, as well as by great mystic yogis, the Kumaras, and many other spiritually advanced living entities. But he has his own interest, separate from the Lord's. Veda Drishtya means that Brahma sometimes thinks that he is independent of the Supreme Lord, or he thinks himself as one of the three equally independent incarnations. Brahma is entrusted with creation, Vishnu maintains, and Rudra, Lord Shiva, destroys. The three of them are understood to be incarnations of the Supreme Lord in charge of the three different material modes of nature, but none of them is independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here the word Veda Drishta occurs because Brahma has a slight inclination to think that he is as independent as a Rudra. Sometimes Brahma thinks that he is independent of the Supreme Lord, and the worshipper also thinks that Brahma is independent. For this reason, after the destruction of this material world, when there is again creation by the interaction of the material modes of nature, Brahma comes back. Although Brahma reaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the first Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu, who is full with transcendental qualities, he cannot stay in the spiritual world. The special significance of his coming back may be noted. Brahma and the great rishis and the great master of yoga, Shiva, are not ordinary living entities. They are very powerful and have all the perfections of mystic yoga, but they have an inclination to try to become one with the Supreme, and therefore they have to come back. In the srimadbhagavatam, it is accepted that as long as one thinks that he is equal with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is not completely purified or knowledgeable, in spite of going up to the first Purusha avatar, Mahavishnu. After the dissolution of this material creation, such personalities again fall down or come back to the material creation. It is a great fall down on the part of the impersonalist to think that the Supreme Lord appears within a material body, and that one should therefore not meditate upon the form of the Supreme, but should meditate instead on the formless. For this particular mistake, even the great mystic yogis or great stalwart transcendentalists also come back again when there is creation. All the living entities other than the impersonalists and monists can directly take to devotional service in full Krishna consciousness and become liberated by developing transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such devotional service develops in the degrees of thinking of the Supreme Lord as Master, as Friend, as Son, and at last as Lover. These distinctions in transcendental variegatedness must always be present. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksulunminitam Dena Taismai Sri Gurve Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is what you call a full plate purport. There's a lot in here, especially for the three of you. There's a lot in this purport, a lot of information. But the basic understanding, what's being presented here, is this universe is filled with living entities. It's not just this one planet that there's living beings on. In fact, there's living beings everywhere. Right? That's one of the understandings of sarvagata. They're everywhere. Living beings are everywhere. This whole material existence is just chock full of living entities. And the Vedic literatures describe the different levels of life and existence, higher planets, middle planets, lower planets. You know, just like on the earth, we have all kinds of varieties of living entities and different arrangements. Some places it's quite nice to live. Are three of you here originally from SanDiego? Okay. It's not bad. Southern California, right? It's not bad. My mother was just visiting. And she called me yesterday. She was shoveling snow, 4 to 6 inches in western Massachusetts. She spent 5 weeks here. Now she's back there shoveling snow in April.
Yeah, I had snow in Columbus.
There you go. So it's quite nice here. So there's some places where the weather's always very nice, and there's some places where it's never nice. I was listening to someone the other day explaining that they're from Nigeria, and she's saying her mother, you know, they immigrated to England. So she's cracking a joke. Her mother's there with a map of the world. You know, it's like, it's very sunny and nice here. Let's go to a place where there's never any sun. Let's move to London. It's like, why did my mother move us to London? There's no sun. You know? So she moved, eventually when she grew up, she moved to Los Angeles. But so in this world, we see that there are, the environments are different. The levels of enjoyment and the different kinds of bodies are all different. And that carries not only on this planet, but it's not an impossible jump of faith to think that throughout this whole universe that must exist, right? That must exist, that there are different grades of living entities and so on. So what's being described here are, on the very, very highest level, Lord Brahma is that personality the Vedas explain. He's actually the creator of this universe. He's so powerful, he's empowered by the Lord to create the universe. Like that. And there are many, he's surrounded by so many great sages and saintly personalities. It's quite an assembly. But the point is being made here that even such great personalities as these, who are, he's described here as Veda Garbha, which means he's the reservoir of all knowledge. Teni Brahma Hrida. Krishna is in the heart, and it filled his heart with all the Vedas, all knowledge. And he disseminated that knowledge in the universe, these different sages. So very, very learned, quite amazing qualifications, far beyond us. But still, even in that position, this word Veda Drishta means that in his consciousness, he's thinking himself independent of the Lord, of the arrangement of the Lord. And that is the cause of everyone's material existence, from an ant, insignificant ant, to Lord Brahma, the highest being in this universe. Everyone has that, every living entity has that Veda Drishta. And therefore we're in the material world. Everyone know why we're here? Why are we here? That's the question. You know, why am I here? You know, who am I? Why am I here? What did I get here? What happens at the time of death? Am I going to go back? Is there a spiritual world? How do you get there? You know, where's the guide? Where's the directions? Can I ask Google? You know, directions. I'm in SanDiego. How do I get to the spiritual world? Try that sometime. Ask Google, like that, or Siri. What's her name? Siri. Ask her. How do I get back home, back to Godhead? So it's a big question, and people have been asking that question. People should be asking that question. That's the hallmark of human intelligent life. Just like sometimes you have these science fiction movies and they talk about going to other planets in search of intelligent life forms. Right? So they probably come here and can't find any. So they don't come here very often, every once. But intelligent life form. Intelligence, according to the Vedas, means you start inquiring about these real serious questions. Who am I? Where am I going? How did I get here? Just, all these things. And the Vedas explain that we're all spiritual beings, but we're in this material world because of this Veda Drishtya. Having a desire to be independent. Just kind of put God there on the shelf. And we become the center. Even in the realm of religion, people sometimes become very religious, but religion is a facility to satisfy their own, they're still the center. In fact, God is seen as an order supplier. That's a British term, order supplier. Give me, right? I pray to God for things for me, right, for my life. He's serving me, right? It's like the example is sometimes given, God is the father. Well, father is always rendering service to the children, right? Right? When you're a little kid, father's doing this and that. And when you get older, right? I remember, there's all these jokes about when you get older, your parents, and usually you call them, and they go, "Hi, Dad," and Dad goes, "Well, you need some money?" Right? Do you call for some money? Right? When you're in college or this and that. "Hi, Dad." "Oh, you need some money?" So you call your parents when you need some money, when you need something, right? So that's it. Order supplier. Our concept is actually, no, we should be rendering service to God. And that's described at the end of the purport, different relationships. But that's there because God is Eko Bahunam Yobadadati Kama, and He is taking care of everyone. But that's not the highest relationship. It's not the purest, like that. So even someone says, "Yes, I believe in God. God is there, and He's there to take care of me and make all these arrangements. And I pray to God every day that everything goes well in my life, and maybe in the lives of others. It makes me feel, family and friends, or we expand our consciousness of all of humanity, or maybe even all living entities. One is very, very concerned and compassionate. But who's the center of that equation? It's always us. So that's not pure spirituality, and that's what's being described in this purport. In this whole book, the Bhagavatam, is to bring about that change in consciousness. It's all about purifying our consciousness to its original state, which is one's actually, you could say, in oneness with God, but it's oneness in purpose. And that's brought out also in this purport here, because there are those, their idea of oneness is that we're all one big spiritual energy. And individuality and personality is an illusion. Our personality is an illusion, and the belief that God is a person is also an illusion, like that. And Prabhupada says here, such of all the different varieties of thoughts you can have about reality, that one is the worst. That's the worst. Such people have no qualification whatsoever for going back home, back to Godhead. On one side, they're understood to be offenders. They're offensive. Just like, I just met you. What's your name? Matt. I said, Matt's blind. He's deaf. He's dumb. He can't walk. He can't talk. He can't do anything. Now, how would you like that if I just told everyone that? I just met you, and I'm saying he's blind, he's deaf, he's... Right? That's rude. And it's not correct either. It's rude and it's not correct. So the impersonalists, they say, yes, God is there, but He has no senses. He can't see, He can't hear, He can't taste. He's just a formless blob. There's Matt here. He's a formless blob. He came for class today. That's very offensive. It's wrong. So God's a person. Otherwise, the question is, if we're persons, where do we get our personality from? Right? If God is the source of everything, He must be the source of personality. Now, His personality is different, but the principle of personality is there. Supreme person. And the attributes of that Supreme Person are revealed in many different scriptures all over the world, but you'll see much more information given in the Vedic literatures of India, especially the Vaishnava literatures, like the Gita and the Bhagavatam. Full understanding. Like that. Full, what do they say? Full disclosure. Full disclosure. Here it is. Here it is. Full disclosure. The Bhagavatam gives full disclosure. Who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, and what our relationship is, and what that spiritual abode is. Okay? So there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, one of my favorite, that brings this point, because it's here in the 7th chapter, where Krishna's addressing this situation where people are thinking that God's not a person. So he makes a very clear statement here. Avyaktam vyaktam apanam manyate mam abudhaya prambhavam ajananto mamavayam anuttamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. So there are those who, they have some exposure to the Vedic literatures, religions of India, and so on. Some even call themselves Hindus. And there's some are people in the West, maybe scholars and so on. And they hear about the personality of Krishna through the Bhagavad Gita and different literatures and Mahabharata and so on. And they're thinking this person is a manifestation maybe of God. But it's not God. It's God acting through this material energy. But really, if you back it up, the ultimate reality is something impersonal, like that. So it's a great misunderstanding, Krishna says. You know, it's like if I do introduce you as an impersonal blob, you may stand up and say, no, no, I'm not. I'm a person. Here I am. So this Bhagavad Gita, Krishna coming into this material world from time to time, he puts an end to all of this speculation about what is God. Puts everything in proper perspective. You know, just like if you show up, then you let everyone know. They'll say, no, he's not a blob. He's a person like everyone else, a real nice guy. That's a nice guy, right? So in the same way Krishna shows up, here I am. I'm the Supreme Person, and this is the spiritual world, and just reveals everything, sets it all straight. So those who don't agree with that, and still try to convince people, no, no, God is not a person, he's just some kind of energy, and we're all one big energy, like a big light. Just like the light is actually made of what they call them, photons, little particles of energy. So we're all just a bunch of photons of spiritual energy floating around. That doesn't sound very exciting, does it? Right? You know, all this spiritual, and then you just land up as a photon. I hope no one turns off the light, right? So there's something greater than that. That's there. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavanita Shabdate. The absolute truth is realized in different aspects. That's true. There is that impersonal aspect. There's the Lord in the heart. But beyond those features, there's the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the spiritual world. In this material world is just a little corner of that spiritual sky, where people like us who have this Veda Drishta desire to just kind of forget God and forget the spiritual world. We can come here, and we work out all our problems, and we go back. And that's described here in the purport. It's an interesting point. That in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, when you leave this material world and go back to the spiritual world, you never come back. Once is enough. You know? Once is enough. It's great. You know, in our penal system, what is that called? When you go back in, revisit? Well, how high is that? That's pretty high in America. Is very high. You know, the criminal goes in, gets out.
Because it's very hard to find a job, you can't go.
Yeah, and you go back, and then you get caught, and you're back in. So they have a very high level of that. I remember hearing one lecture. There's is it Denmark or some place like that? One of those European countries where they actually treat the prisoners very, very nicely, take care of their families, and all of this. And that level of recidivism is practically nil. They treat them like human beings instead of, you know, it's quite interesting. They have all these programs for them and everything, and they get back into society, and stay nicely on like that. So the point is, Krishna is saying, there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, when you go, you don't come back. But here we hear that Lord Brahma and these high demigods, they can actually go to Vaikuntha, but when the creation starts up again, they come back. So you actually don't stay. There are situations where you don't stay there forever. You do come back. It's a nice vacation, but you don't come back. In fact, there's different stories in the Puranas of different persons who go to Vaikuntha and then come back to do something. And I asked one devotee about that, and he said, yes, it's sometimes it's the Vaikuntha planet in this universe, or it's Vaikuntha. You do come back. You can't stay there. You've made some mistakes like that, or your consciousness isn't completely pure. So the teaching of the Bhagavatam is that we have to be completely pure. And what is that purity? The purity is to become completely free from this beta dishta, the desire to be independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because it's an illusion. How are we independent? Where did you get the air you've been breathing all day today? Right? I mean, that's just one example. The body we have, our mind, our senses, the air we're breathing, the food we eat, the sun, every single thing is just there. It's being provided. And that's just the material things. Now, the spiritual nature, which is being provided also, which we're kind of out of touch with, is even much better. Those gifts and blessings are even better than what we find in this material world. And someone is providing all of that. So, to say that, no, I don't need any of that, like that. I'm completely independent. That is called delusion, right? It's complete delusion. Complete delusion. So all we're asking here, all the Bhagavatam is asking, is that we just wake up to reality. And wake up to reality. That's all. And just acknowledge reality. That's all. You can say, on one hand, that's not a big change, but actually it's a huge change because it's a change in consciousness. Just acknowledge reality, what's really going on here. And, just like in a family situation, children who deny the benevolence of their parents. You know what they call that? Teenage life. Ask any parent. Right? That somehow or other, when kids get a certain age, it's like mom and dad are like, and there's usually some tension there, quite a lot sometimes. And it's amazing because it's just kind of like, I mean, it's the growth of becoming independent, the struggles of becoming an independent person. But sometimes you see it gets out of hand, and they just completely neglect any advice, anything from the parent. Of course, they want the money and different things like that, but more or less, mom and dad are out of my life, And then around 25, 30, they start focusing again. Oh yeah, my parents, my parents, right? Was it Mark Twain? Was he the one who said that he left home at an age? He said, when I was about 19 or 20. I thought my father was the biggest fool in the world. The guy was a jerk, big fool. He said, but when I came home, around 25, 26, I realized he learned a lot in those years. He learned a lot in those years. But what it was is you just completely block out who they really are and everything they're doing for you, right? That's just part of, it shouldn't be that way. In a good culture, you're always thankful for everything, but you just forget all of that. And that's it's an improper type of consciousness to be not thankful and appreciative of what other people are doing for you. So that's the disease in the heart, you can say, bhava rog, is we think like that. And if that's there with the Supreme, let's say, it actually expands to everyone else because everyone's part and parcel of God. So if you're neglectful of that Supreme Lord who's giving everything, that expands to all living entities. So that's why it's said that if one has a proper relationship with the Father, automatically there's a proper relationship with all the children of God. And that's why God consciousness or spiritual consciousness is the real panacea for all the problems in the world. Because if you get that straight, everything falls into place. Where other endeavors are stopgap or short, they're limited, right? Just like sometimes you see a bumper sticker, save the whales. How about all the other creatures in the ocean? And how about all the other creatures on the land? And how about all the creatures in the air? And how about all the human? In other words, but someone who is fully God conscious, they have compassion for every single living entity. They don't single anyone out. Full compassion. Like that, that's what's described here. So it's 8:29. Any questions or comments? It's wide open. Take your best shot. Dravida Prabhu.
One slight comment here from my editorial point of view here. Here, Brahma is called Veda Garba,
Mm-hmm.
which means that he knows the complete purpose of the Vedas. If you look up purpose in the Oxford English Dictionary, you'll find that one of the meanings is purport. And Prabhu would sometimes use that here. And that's, I think, what's going on here. He knows complete, he understands the Vedas completely, the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of the Vedas is it's right there in one line of Bhagavad Gita, that's no mystery. The purpose of the Vedas is no Krishna. But the complete purport, the meaning of the Vedas is something that only Brahma can know. And also this question of, there seems to be a little bit of ambiguity here because it probably makes a distinction. They can go to Mahavishnu, but they have to come back down again. And whether that's really equivalent to going to Vaikuntha, I'm not sure, though he does say the spiritual world at one point, but it seems to be they can go as far as Mahavishnu.
Yeah. Well, this devotee I asked, he seemed to indicate it's that the Vaikuntha and the material world are on the edge. It's not like Goloka Vrindavan, and it's not that. It's just resident of Vishnu, Vaikuntha. That's where you may come back from, but you don't come back from Goloka Vrindavan. That you don't come back from.
And the other thing that just calls to mind, again from this weird editorial perspective I had with, is that right? This was brought up by Mukunda Maharaj fairly recently, within the last year. In the purport of the Bhagavad Gita to the verse Brahma Bhuvana Loka, that all places up to Brahma Loka even are places of return. And in the purport there, Prabhupada mentions that Brahma, actually, and the way Mukunda Maharaj pointed out it's supposed to be, and it's true, Brahma and those who are mature in devotional service in Brahma Loka go back to Godhead. But not everyone on Brahma Loka goes back. Otherwise it wouldn't be any meaning of Brahma when it's not that everyone
Yes.
Brahma Loka is just a way station. Loka, you can come back. So it seems like there's Brahma and there's Brahma. There's many different Brahmas.
Yes.
And they have some, the vast majority come back because Prabhupada says in the ninth canto that that's your first step. When you fall from the spiritual world, there's Brahma Loka. Well, here we are. We've all been Brahmas. So. But our particular Brahma, you know, Govindamadi Purusham Brahmam, it's hard to understand how he wouldn't be going back. So it's the Brahmas who are envious, who have a tinge of desire to compete with Krishna or want to have something personal tinge, then they have to come back. But pure Brahmas, there's some of them. Otherwise, that's what they would be.
Okay.
So a little spanner into dimension.
Any questions? You really parachuted into something big, didn't you? The Bhagavatam. This book we're reading from people have been reading from it for thousands of years. Every morning, just sitting reading and like that. It's okay. Yes, Jamal.
A lot of the time, from impersonalists, we hear, "Oh, God can't be a person because that would mean he's super limited." So, can you explain how that's a misconception?
Well, it means to say God can't be a person because that would mean he's limited. Krishna says right that verse I just read. They don't understand param bhavam ajananto. They don't know who Krishna is. They don't know who Krishna is because there's material personality. Well, the problem is their experience of personality is just in reference to material personality, material body, mind, senses in this world. But we're saying, we agree with that, that's true. But beyond personality of this material world, there's personalities in the spiritual world, and that the Supreme Lord is also a person, but he's a person possessing unlimited potency. His body's made of three things, Satchidananda, God's body and all spiritual bodies are made of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. How would you like to turn your body in for one like that? Eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. That's what it's made out of. Instead of bones and blood and muscles and other things, right? It has form, but instead of flesh and blood, it's actually eternity, bliss, and knowledge. That's what our spiritual bodies are made out of, and the Supreme Lord's body is made out of. So we're talking about, and he possesses unlimited potency. That's the person we're talking about. So it's just a matter of not understanding who Krishna is. So you have to hear. Krishna's introducing himself, just like I gave the example of you, Matt. You come and introduce yourself. We can guess all we want to guess about you, but when you show up and introduce yourself, then we know, oh, this is who he is. So Krishna comes, he says, here I am. He explains himself, he shows himself. There you go. And the process for realizing him is also given. But, you know, what do you do when someone tries to tell you who they are and all that and you won't listen to them? What can you do? You know? They don't accept your explanation of yourself. You know what it is? Prabhupada tells a story about this young boy grew up in a village, right? And he grows up and he's kind of a goofy guy and so on, but he grows up and he becomes a high court judge. So these two guys who lived in the village are talking about it, and someone says, did you hear about Kumar? Kumar, now he's a high court judge. And the other guy says, no, I don't accept that. He was such a foolish boy. How could he be a high court judge? So no, he's a high court judge. So, well, he may be a high court judge, but he's not getting any salary. So he's just envious, right? Don't accept it. Okay, he's a high, but he's not getting any salary. So what do you do? Well, it's called envy, right? So we can end on this note. Okay? All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you.